Today's topic is really the importance of healthy teams in organizations. And what I'd like to cover with you is, what is a healthy team? How would you describe a healthy team? Why is it important more than ever in today's business world to have healthy teams in your organization? And particularly, what is the role of the leader in building healthy teams? Because what we do know is that 70% of the influence around healthy, productive, engaged teams is down to the team leader. So there's a lot to play for here. And what we mean by healthy teams really is a team that's typified by high productivity, high engagement, minimal politics or confusion around what's important, and also are really committed to continually improving outcomes, not just for customers, but for all stakeholders. And they're often described as working really well both within the silo as well as across the silos of the organization. So there's a lot to play for here. Why is it important to have healthy teams in organizations? Well, what we do know in the VUCA world, the drive for distraction, uncertainty, lack of focus, and quite transactional behaviors is alive and kicking, and what we do know is if we're going to address that distraction, that lack of focus, those transactional behaviors, we really need teams that can strip away what's important and focus on things, can work together well, are really got what's important for the customer and the stakeholder in mind, and particularly have that strong sense of purpose and understand their impact on the wider team and the wider organization. And what we do know is the leader is the single biggest influence on that level of engagement and that level of productivity within teams. So it really is within the leader's grasp to really affect that and change that. So what are the sort of essential 5 or 6 tips that we see that can really build the sort of healthy teams going forward to better adapt and be more nimble in this VUCA world as is described? Well, the role of the leader, first of all, starts with a mindset. And we would say that, the leaders today, and I think Harvard described this recently really well, where they talked about, leadership now is about doing hard things in a human way. And I really like that contrast there. There's also hard decisions to be made, right, in leadership, and we're not going to shy away from those. But doing it in a human way becomes the differentiator. So hard decisions in a human way becomes really important. So how do we do that? Well, number one, no surprise, the level of empathy and understanding that we're able to show our teams, not just now, but going forward, does become a game changer. And this is never more relevant than, I suppose, in a virtual hybrid world, where there is definitely a drive for more transactional relationships. We're seeing this in lots of areas where people are feeling a bit more disconnected from their teams, not having as much access to their colleagues, and really are, getting more task driven without doing that connecting piece. And there's lots of ways we can do that, right? And I'm sure you're experimenting with those at the moment. But don't underestimate, it's a consistent thing. It's not just a one-off thing. Like if you've not connected all week, but we have drinks online on a Friday afternoon, really isn't going to cut it. We've got to be connecting every day. Is my advice, to make sure you getting the most connection within the team and the most understanding within the team. The second area which I'd encourage you to reflect on as a leader, after empathy and understanding, is really how you're running your meetings. And my challenge to you as a leader is to run great meetings. We know that the description of some meetings is that they're boring, they lack purpose, we're not clear what's being decided, and we seem to be talking about the same thing again and again and again. Well, the leader has a big opportunity to change that, to make their meetings really opportune, discussing the right things, and enabling your team to leave these meetings with greater clarity and higher levels of motivation than they had before they came to the meeting. So using your meetings really well is so important. 2 areas there that we would encourage you to reflect on is, what's your operating rhythm? What's your mix between your weekly, daily, monthly and quarterly resets? Have you got the right balance there around your different types of meetings? And the second tip that we really sort of encourage leaders to consider is really what we call avoid the meeting stew, where we, in an intention to reduce the number of meetings, we chuck too many elements into the one meeting, and it becomes a bit of a stew, the meeting stew, where we're talking about weekly tactical things, and then we're talking about strategic things, and we want to go deep on them, but we've only got a short period of time. So we're big fans of separating out your weekly sort of tactical discussions on a Monday, for example, and then having a more deeper dive around certain topics which are more important, more strategic, if you like, later in the month. So the separation becomes really key. The third element we'd encourage you to consider as a leader in terms of building a healthy team is actually developing your team. What are the team's strengths? Have you got some really good data on what's driving the team's strengths and what gets the best out of the team? And indeed, what are some blind spots that we need to be aware of? Every team's got a style, and understanding its style, which is often made up of the personalities in the team and also the expertise, obviously it plays a big part. So we're big fans of sharing our styles, sharing with each other different styles. And once we understand the different styles in a team, it gives us a bit better options to understand how to better engage with each other. So we use DISC, but there's lots of other tools out there that can provide you with that sort of insight into the different styles, and particularly around pace and decision making, which often are the big sort of red flags, if you like, around causing friction in a team. Some team members want to go too fast, where others want to go too slow. Getting that right balance, and obviously understanding how we want to make decisions. Some team members need all the information, others are more geared to making decisions more intuitively. Understanding that balance in the team and setting yourselves up for success when you work together is really important. And there's a lot of growth and development can come within a team from understanding style. So that's the really important number 3 in terms of building healthy teams. Number 4 is, as a leader, invest time in your one-to-ones. Regular one-to-ones, where as the leader, you're the coach and the motivator for your team member, can be really important. We're big fans of the weekly check-in, half an hour once a week, where the team member gets a chance to update you around what they're working on, what their priorities are, linked to their 90-day goals, linked to their 12-month plan. Then that really does give you a lot of structure, a lot of clarity around what's most important. And there's one question we always would encourage you as the leader to be asking as you have your one-to-ones is, what can I as the leader do to better support you over the next week? And that question, when asked with sincerity and authenticity, can really change the dynamic of the conversation. And actually what it enables you to do, we think, is for the team member to leave that conversation feeling more motivated than when they came to that conversation at the start of the meeting, which to me is a big tick. Number 5, as the leader, be comfortable being uncomfortable with conversations. There's always the uncomfortable conversation we need to have in the team around how we're going, how we're working together. And I've seen the sort of implications of leaders letting these conversations slide and not being addressed. And I've seen the situation in the opposite way as well, where the leader's been very proactive in addressing an uncomfortable issue in the team, and it pays dividends every time, because everybody knows what's going on in the team, and in fact as the leader you're often the last to know. So making sure that you're addressing the uncomfortable issues in the team and calling them in a constructive way is really important. So don't underestimate the importance of addressing of having the uncomfortable conversations as the leader. Now, number 6, and really this is the final sort of don't do for teams to ensure they're being healthy and productive, is don't waste their time. As a leader, we can ask for information, we can give direction on things that isn't always quite what's needed or isn't always quite the priority. And being reflective around how much of my time am I taking up with my team, and am I giving my team enough time to get on with what they need to get on with, is really important. In fact, there's a really interesting Harvard study from a couple of years back talks exactly about how much time does your manager waste within a team, and it's quite surprising really. Sometimes we get caught up in asking for information or directing teams into certain areas where really we could just let things roll and let them come to their own conclusions, and the outputs wouldn't have been much different. So again, get out of your team's way and let them roll is a really good way of building a healthy team. So some tips there around building a healthy team. What we would say is choose one, choose meetings as a focus for you. Choose an uncomfortable conversation maybe, or focus on improving your one-to-ones. Just choose one of those areas and go deep on it in the next 30 days. And what you'll see is it will always contribute an element to improving the whole dynamic of the team and addressing what we call, building that healthy team, which is better able to be more nimble and adaptive in this volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous business world. Give it a go and look forward to your feedback. Bye for now.